Welcome to a Shinn Show, the pre-Super Bowl edition, or the post-playoffs edition, or the whatever edition you'd really like to call it. Welcome. With me, as always, Nick Shinn, son in Omaha, Sarah Shinn, daughter in Omaha. Good morning.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon, wherever you are. Doesn't really matter what the time is. So let me ask you this. Anything extraordinary happened this week? How did you make out with the Polar Vortex?
It was fucking cold.
It was cold. It was icy.
Yeah.
Very icy, you know? A lot of ices.
Yeah.
They canceled school one day, but not 2 days. And I thought that was foolish because the second day, the wind chill was like still -10.
-10, though. For Omaha, you can survive that. I mean, all the children are dressed appropriately, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm sure all of the poverty-ridden children are dressed appropriately as they wait for their bus that doesn't ever show up on time.
No, they don't. If the bus can't make it there, then they're not gonna have school.
Yeah, except they did.
Well,
the buses always run late.
Well, we didn't hear anything about any dead kids, so then we know they were dressed appropriately.
They must have been
Because if you
fine.
weren't, you'll fucking die out there.
Well, if they weren't, then they didn't go to school. The parents just kept them home from school. I just thought that it was foolish that we had school anyway.
Well, in any event, you both lived, which from my point of view is the most important point.
Yeah.
For example, when anybody asks me, do you believe in capital punishment? I say, yes, I believe in capital punishment if it's someone who murdered one of my children. On the other hand, I am a firm opponent of capital punishment if one of my children is the murderer.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
That sounds like pretty standard vengeance for my own purposes.
Well, I mean, it's the same with abortion, in my opinion, which is that I'm for abortion if you need one, but I'm totally against it if it's for anyone else.
Really?
Sure. Why not?
I think that's a joke.
Kind of, sort of. In any event.
Let's not get into that here and now. That could take the whole hour.
Way to dive right into it. In any event, a lot going on this week. The Polar Vortex, really, in many ways, the top news story. It was pretty frickin' cold everywhere, right? And
Yeah, how was it up there?
I don't know. And you know why? I had to travel to Florida for work on the coldest day of the Polar Vortex.
How terrible for you.
Well, it was pretty brisk down there, high of 61. So, it was,
Wow.
Shut up.
Wow, got to keep your tracksuit on for that one.
Right, exactly. I had to struggle. But the struggle is real and I made it through. Anyway, no fatalities.
We're proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, but there were some deaths in the Midwest. And of course, the interesting thing about this polar vortex is that what I've read is that it has nothing to do with quote unquote global warming, but it does have a lot to do with climate change in the sense that the climate is becoming much more unpredictable. And in fact, the polar vortex has a lot to do with circulation of warm air to the North Pole, which is fascinating. So one of the consequences of climate change and rising global temperatures will be locally colder conditions in many locations, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah, looking at like the radar of like the map of the entire U.S. over the last couple of days was pretty crazy. Seems like everybody except the most extremes got.
You know what kills me is that people don't attribute it to global warming, though. Like they take the warming part of global warming and say it's not warm, it's cold.
Well,
no, dumbass. The warm melted the caps, which made the thing spill out. It's like your ice melted in your glass,
water?
And now you got water everywhere.
The water.
Water's the polar vortex.
Ooh, that's interesting. See, that's a good analogy right there. That's a very good analogy. But just as a practical matter, it's very tough to see beyond your own local conditions. So if your own local condition is -35, you're thinking to yourself, gee, this doesn't feel like global warming to me. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Big picture, folks.
Yeah. Well, in any event, hard to see beyond what you're actually experiencing yourself. So that's the polar vortex news. Other international news, the United States has opted to withdraw from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Treaty, a nuclear missile treaty.
I read just a little bit about that, and aren't we doing it because Russia wasn't respecting it anyway?
Yes. In a word, yes. They were building missiles. It's the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, INF. Russia was building missiles that violated the treaty. It's just that simple. Now, they claimed that they weren't, and so we had a dispute that perhaps could have been negotiated, but we opted to withdraw from the treaty rather than enter into fresh negotiations in order
This is a treaty with us?
Yeah, it's a treaty between what was the Soviet Union and the United States, originally negotiated by Ronald Reagan in the mid-'80s, and has carried on for the last 35 years. Because of the Russian violations of the treaty, the United States has withdrawn, and now Russia has withdrawn as well. And so there you go. I will tell you that that's I don't know. I'll ask you, is it better to withdraw from a treaty which one side isn't respecting, or is it better to try to renegotiate that treaty in the context of greater verification or in order to try and get the other party to do what you want?
I actually agree with what we did in this scenario. I think if it's not being respected, then what's the point of staying in it? I think we should withdraw and maybe try to negotiate a new one, but at this point, what's the point of staying? I mean, I guess in good faith, you could show that you're still in good faith, but
you contradicted yourself there if we're talking about negotiating a new contract.
Well, no, he said negotiating a new one under the same name, basically. And I'm saying maybe that's an option, but maybe that's not. Maybe that's not the option.
Well, the way I see it, if you wanted, the only reason to just back out of the treaty completely and not to renegotiate it and try to find some middle ground there would be to I don't know. We all have nuclear weapons now. You know what I mean? So there's no reason for anyone to get too hostile. We don't want to back out and be like, all right, seriously, fuck
but
you.
A whole bunch of Europe doesn't. Wasn't that part of the reason why our allies were pissed about this? Because they don't have the nuclear stockpile that we have, and they're a hell of a lot closer to Russia than we are.
At a certain point, it doesn't matter what geographical location has the nuclear weapons. The fact is that one side has them and one side also has them. It's a bunch of them. We both have a bunch of them. So, I mean, I'm not saying this.
But there's more than two sides is what I'm getting at.
Well, also doesn't matter. As soon as one side uses them, whichever side, and then the other side uses them, it's game over, right? It's mutually assured destruction. So, which I'm not saying that's where it's immediately going to go to. But that's something you always have to keep in mind when considering not fucking with another country anymore and not, renegotiating some kind of treaty.
So if I may jump in, what you're talking about to a certain extent, Nick, is this concept of assurance, nuclear assurance, where we, the United States, say, hey, Germany, France, and England and NATO, you don't have to worry about developing your nuclear capabilities further. I mean, France and England have their own nuclear weapons capabilities, but Germany, you don't have to worry about developing a nuke because we have extended our nuclear umbrella over you. Same for you, Japan and South Korea. So you don't have to develop nuclear weapons because we've got your back. That's nuclear assurance. So to the extent that this treaty withdrawal has any impact on nuclear assurance, I don't think it does. Like Sarah says, it might actually enhance their feeling of nuclear surety by knowing that, hey, we're ready to match Russia in terms of whatever their weapons development program is.
Right, but okay, so when we're talking about weapons development programs, I mean, the nuclear weapons are the end-all be-all, right? They're the final world-beating weapon because as soon as no one side can just use it to end anything now, right? One side uses it, then the other side's going to use it too. And now we have mutually assured destruction, which, like I said earlier, I'm not saying that's exactly right what it would go to. There would be things that would lead up to it. But as soon as, whenever there's a real war, there hasn't been a real war between like entire countries on a scale of World War II since World War II, where we had to use the...
You're right. There hasn't been a large
Vietnam
scale.
Was not like World War II.
There hasn't been a peer conflict, a large scale
and why,
near peer
right?
conflict.
And why is that? Because at the end of the day, we can do all this fighting, but we both sides know that we could just end it all right now. You know what I mean? Like, so there's no point in dragging it out. Now, that's just a possibility if things go real sour, but I don't think they ever would for the same reason, because we all know that there's no need for the semantics of grueling war anymore. When we can just press the button.
Here's the issue. Actually, I agree with you. I mean, assuming that you never have one of the major nuclear powers run by a madman.
Yeah, right.
If you make that assumption, which seems like even madmen typically want to prolong their own life. So,
yeah.
Assuming that you don't have a suicidal madman at the helm of one of the great nuclear powers, one can presume that the odds of mutually assured destruction are remote, as long as both sides maintain a credible nuclear deterrent. Now, that being said, one of the big risks is, what if you have an accidental discharge? What if your nuclear command control mechanisms malfunction? And you say, well, that's pretty far-fetched. Well, it has happened. Matter of fact, in Russia, and now I can't remember exactly the year, but I believe it was in the 80s, there was a nuclear, basically a guy who was in charge of air defense for Russia, who was a watch officer, who saw what appeared to be a launch of nuclear missiles.
I remember this story.
Yeah, exactly. He saw this, what he thought to be a launch of ICBMs from America, but he knew his own equipment had sometimes malfunctioned. And so rather than initiating a retaliatory strike, as were his standing orders, he waited to make sure that his equipment was good. And it turns out his equipment was faulty. Obviously, we did not launch ICBMs towards the Soviet Union. And so as a result, he averted World War III. The point is, had he been a different dude,
one who cared less,
the fate of the world depended upon the instincts of that one person. And so,
well, you gotta imagine that everything running through. He's like, oh my God, they've launched nukes at Russia, and then he ran through all the options in his head. Like, really, did they really do that? Like, surely they couldn't have started World War III for whatever reason. I better just check my shit real quick before I send the nukes myself.
Speaking as you know, an engineer.
Yeah,
you always want to check the logs when you see something bad happening. Check the logs.
Just give it a check.
Right. Yeah, well, what's a few extra seconds when you're talking about the destruction of humankind?
Exactly. Good on him.
Anyway, yeah, good on him. But nuclear weapons remain, in my judgment, this is just my opinion. After all, that's all this is. My opinion is that nuclear weapons remain the single greatest existential threat to humankind on the planet, global climate change notwithstanding.
Well, that's inexorable and out of our hands. Nuclear warfare very much in the hands of humans. Which one's more finicky?
And it's like we like climate change. You can't just press a button and turn it on or off,
right?
But nuclear weapons are not like you just press a button to launch them. But that's that's essentially the process. So you can make that happen at any time.
It's true, and my point here earlier is simply that we've been incredibly fortunate over the last 70 plus years that we've had nuclear weapons, nearly 75 now, that there has never been an accidental discharge of nuclear weapons. That's absolutely incredible, and it's as much good fortune as it is any human planning.
It would make sense to me that they spend as much time making sure that doesn't happen as they do making them.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh, they do. I mean, have you ever read Eric Schlosser's Command and Control?
No,
he's the same. Yeah, I recommend that. He's the same guy who wrote Fast Food Nation, and it's a terrific insight into some of the the actual nuclear accidents that we've had in this country, and some of the near nuclear accidents that we've had as well. And so, really, quite an interesting book. And of course, Russia has had more than their fair share of nuclear accidents as well. Chernobyl, though not military related, being the most obvious example, but they've had several military related nuclear accidents as well. So, it's a risky business when you're messing with the atom.
Yeah. It's playing with fire.
Quite literally.
Fallout music.
Yeah. Well, that's why they have those Fallout 74 games,
Well, let's not talk about Fallout 74. It's an abomination.
Yes, you plebeians.
It's an abomination.
All right, I don't know what else. What else do we got for news? Well, it's Super Bowl. Really?
I do have. Well,
yeah?
You go ahead and talk
That's
about
sports.
that while I pull up whatever the hell it is.
All right, we'll skip. Well, I'll just say that Super Bowl is one of those sporting events that crosses the line from sports into news because it's such a big deal, supposedly.
Yeah, you're right. It's heavily marketed. The commercials are always pretty good for the Super Bowl. A lot of people watch Super Bowl just for the commercials.
It's true.
I know a lot about the halftime show this year because Maroon 5 is headlining it. And my friend is like the biggest Maroon 5 fan probably on the face of the earth.
So I guess they're watching the halftime show.
Oh, she tried to get into it. So
really?
She doesn't have Super Bowl tickets, but she flew down to Atlanta to I don't know if she's got in or not. I haven't talked to her since last night, but she was trying real hard to get in just for the halftime show.
I don't think they let you in without tickets, bud.
Well, she has a few channels.
She got
that
some
was trying
strings she
to,
can pull.
yeah, that she was trying to yank on. So
Yeah, well, when you're like the president of the local fan club and shit like that, which I'm sure she is, then you get some connections into some of the other confirmed groupies. They have their ways.
right, exactly.
They're
So yeah, I don't
horrid.
want to spoil anything for you guys because I'm sure you're going to watch the Maroon 5 halftime show. But they are
Spoiler
going
alert.
but I am spoiling it. They are going to open with the Sweet Victory Bubble Bowl song.
Oh
from
yeah,
SpongeBob.
yeah. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Confirmed.
I might watch that.
Yeah.
I do want to see how that dude Adam Levine, lead singer of Maroon 5, is very talented dude.
Well, apparently they were practicing for it throughout their last tour, and my friend went on a good number of the tour stops, and she's like, "Oh my god, I know exactly. This is definitely what they were practicing." So she was too old for SpongeBob, but she did her homework and was like, "Yeah, look, here are the diagrams of where they're standing, and here are the clips of what they were singing." And I was like, "You did some damn good detective work for shit that you don't even really care about."
And I don't really understand. What's the super bubble? What is this? It's
It's a SpongeBob
Bubble Bowl.
episode.
Yeah, it's this like early like season 1 or 2 of SpongeBob. They
They
have
did
to
this
practice.
halftime show for the
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Basically.
And it was like the whole episode, they don't even know how to play their instruments. So like the show comes and you're like, oh fuck, man, what's gonna happen?
Sweating bullets.
Yeah, and then it's really good song.
And so they're going to open with that. That's awesome. I do want to see that actually now. And I will agree. Adam Levine, I guess he's talented. I know one thing about Adam Levine. Hunky.
Yeah, that too. Also married
Okay.
with 2 children. So let's just nix that right now.
I saw him on Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
And it was like he was playing a game where it's like these 2 wheels. One of them is a song,
Oh yeah.
and one of them is a celebrity. So you have to like impersonate that celebrity singing
Yeah.
that song.
That's my favorite bit that Jimmy Fallon does.
Yeah, Adam Levine nailed every single one.
He did
did-
like Sesame Street theme, but in the Michael Jackson style or something like that.
Yeah,
It was
he
pretty
did
good.
head, shoulders, knees, and toes as Frank Sinatra. I
Yeah.
remember that one. He nailed the Frank Sinatra.
Well, if anybody can do that, I'm sure it's Adam Levine.
So
But-
in other news,
Yes.
The story I saved, there was a bunch of articles being put out that these Chinese scientists had found a quote cure for cancer, unquote, and would be distributing it by the end of the year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. I liked how you were skeptical right off the bat
Right.
because it's garbage,
Yes.
and it really just highlighted how people don't know how to look at an article and fact check it. So there was another piece that I was reading,
That's extra work.
yesterday, a series of stories ran in major news outlets describing a quote miracle cure for cancer that would be quote available in 1 year's time, which is nonsense and speaks to a failing of our science reporting system and is a disservice to patients and researchers.
Clickbait.
Yeah, it was clickbait.
Literal
And if
fake
you-
news.
Once you read the article, it was garbage. It was poorly written. There was no there was no journal published. There was no actual science behind it. The stuff that the stuff that they were saying, basically their technique already exists. There's already FDA approved drugs that use the technique that they say is going to cure cancer.
Right.
And
It's a bunch
They
of
use-
bullshit. That's the bottom
It was a
line.
bunch of bullshit. It was a bunch of attention-seeking behavior by a bunch of scientists out of China because their fucking peer review system is garbage in China.
Well, and
So-
that's, it's interesting you say that because I just read an article in The Atlantic about how Xi Jinping has consolidated power, not from a position of strength, but out of a sense of weakness. And so as a result, there's much greater political control in China now than there was, say, even 25 years ago. And what that's going to do is that has an impact on the ability to do scientific research. When your scientific research has to conform to the prevailing political view or you risk prison, you're
Right.
going to conform your research, generally speaking, to Xi Jinping thought. And so
Whether
that
or not it's actually scientifically accurate.
That actually happens here a lot. Like, not for fear of prison time, but I'm sure I mentioned this before. Those two guys, Peter Boghossian.
Here's the difference. I mean, go ahead and explain it, and then I'll jump in with my indignation.
All I'm saying is that, like, there's a certain narrative to any intellectual community in certain societies, and if you post or if you research data that is counter to that narrative, then you'll either get ridiculed out of your job or fired, or you just won't get published. You know what I mean? People don't take it seriously.
Yeah. So I have 2 points to this.
Yes.
One is that those guys that did that did suffer consequences, which is, I mean, kind of proved their point. I mean, yes, they published some garbage shit and were told some shady shit to get their garbage published.
Okay, and just to be clear, we're talking about Peter Boghossian. Who's the other fellow? What they did was they published
James Lindsay
and James Lindsay, yeah, and they published got a number of papers published that were essentially bullshit, but that conformed to the prevailing intellectual narrative. Is that a factual statement?
Yeah, that is a factual statement. They detailed how hard it is to get a peer-reviewed paper published. It's very hard. It has to go through a board of editors, and then they have to send it back to you, and then there's 4 or 5 more stages of people that it has to go through before it's approved to be published. And there was at least 2 of them that they just completely made everything up. They just made it up, and that one got published. It got an award, all that stuff. Other things, they just copied Mein Kampf, and changed the Nazi Party with other words, but.
Yeah, I remember this, and it does seem to me that the point was valid, which is that the main point was that as long as your scientific work conforms with the prevailing view, you've got a chance at getting it published, whether or not it's factual.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But they also did get in trouble for this. Their work got redacted. They had to send in, I don't know if they sent in like apologies or if the journals.
Well, what they got in trouble
for
was the shit that they just absolutely, like the numbers that they made up.
Oh yeah, the data fabrication.
They fabricated data, and they even said they're like that part. I guess, I mean, it wasn't cool, but like all of it was just to prove a point. Like know now if it has our names on it that it was fake, so it's not like
right, exactly.
Right. But my point is that China doesn't the amount of corruption in that system, because I think they have a similar system. I don't think it's quite as rigid. The amount of
stakes are a lot higher in China. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's difficult to trust any of the research that comes out of there.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, that's one of the issues that
science should be a uniting factor across countries.
But it's dependent upon free speech. And
yes, that's true.
And intellectual openness. I mean, if you're not open to another concept, then it's very difficult to have your beliefs challenged. And
hey, you know what? That brings us to a real interesting concept I was thinking of the other day. So I was listening to this guy. He's working on anti-aging. He's convinced that aging is a disease. Right. Nobody considers aging a disease because it happens to everyone.
Right.
But he thinks that it's a disease that can be cured. And he's working on it. And he's doing these crazy fucking stem cell studies on these mice, right? And he's like, the results are really good. They're really good. Like, but we can't do anything really until we try it on a human. We have to try it on a person. You know what I mean? So that kind of brings me to, what do you think? Like, it's kind of a hard decision to make when you ask, like, if you discover or invent some kind of revolutionary procedure or medicine that could, change the way people live forever for the better, but you have to try it on a person.
That's what volunteers are for.
That's an interesting thought, but there's a whole field that examines these issues called bioethics.
Yeah.
That says, hey, this is ethical, this is not ethical, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, and here's why.
Right.
And so, but the real question is, hey, does the subject have full knowledge of what they're doing? Does the subject have full knowledge of the risks? Does the subject really give consent, or are they in some way coerced? And
which
even
is kind of
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. And I was just going to say that, which is kind of like that Jonah Hill show, kind of delves into this.
Oh,
on Netflix. What is that called?
Maniac?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does a little bit. I mean, so on the periphery, but yes, that's an issue that comes up because the whole show is based on a drug trial. But go ahead.
Exactly.
What if you need a specific kind of person? You know what I mean? Like, what if you need someone who has leukemia?
They do drug trials like that though. There are
there's always somebody, I guess, right? There's always somebody who's willing to try it.
Yeah.
The FDA, well, I don't know if it's the FDA, but they basically say, here are the people we need. Here's the trial we're trying to run. We need both a control group and we need these people who actually have this whatever.
No, well, here's the thing.
If someone's dying, they'll try something.
But this is the ethical issue, right? The ethical issue is the control group gets a placebo. Now, if you need a whole group of people who are dying of leukemia and you're going to be giving half of them a placebo,
yeah.
What are the ethics of that, right?
Well, there are ethics involved, but I usually think that's part of the outlined in the trial. It's like you may be getting a placebo or you may be getting this drug. You don't know.
But if you got 6 months to live,
you're told. Well, but
if you
choose that though, isn't that your decision?
Well, so here's the point, though. The point is that. All right.
It is your decision, but why would you? What incentive do you have to do it at all if it's a experimental drug that may not work, or B, a placebo that definitely won't work?
Well, the incentive is the good you might be doing, maybe not just with your life, but for other lives.
Well, also there is the placebo effect, which is that you don't know which one you're getting. So presumably, hey, I could be getting this other one. And the placebo effect is very, very, very
real.
Powerful too. So, I guess, but there are some bioethical issues with getting a control group of dying people and then giving them a placebo because you're really giving them a death sentence.
Yeah.
You're telling them that they're possibly, but they don't even know that you're telling them that they're getting helped, right? That we're going to do this drug that may help you.
And you may or may not get that drug.
Yeah, you may not even get that drug, but even if you do, maybe it might not even work, or it might make shit worse.
But either way, you are furthering science's progress and may help future patients who have this issue. Do you really want everyone who has this issue to suffer as you have suffered?
And
That's a very noble way to think about it.
You just might get cured.
It's a little manipulative. I'm not going to lie, but that's how I would have to justify it.
Since we're on medicine, I got a fun little story here.
Medical fun fact.
That a man was cured of HIV in 2007 with a bone marrow transplant from someone with the genes resistant to HIV. He's the first person to ever be cured.
Yes.
Interesting.
And that happened in Germany, didn't it?
Yeah, he's known as the Berlin patient.
Yep.
He was diagnosed with in 1995, then used an antiretroviral drug to stave off HIV for more than a decade.
Yes.
But where shit takes a curveball is that he was also diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia,
right?
Which is on top of HIV about a bitch, right?
Right.
So they decided to use radiation and chemotherapy to wipe out his immune system, then rebuild it with donated stem cells. All right. But they added a game-changing twist to the standard treatment. They deliberately picked a donor who was immune to HIV. So about 1% of Caucasians carry a gene mutation that triggers that immunity, which means that their cells don't have CCR5, which is a protein that opens the door for HIV to enter your blood cells.
Got it.
So since he was transplanted bone marrow from someone who had that mutation, he received 2 of those transplants, and it knocked out his cancer and transferred the genetic variation to his immune system. So
stem cells don't fuck around, man.
I'll tell you,
got rid of his cancer and it cured his HIV.
So you know what? He probably had that disease done or had that transplant done on a Tuesday, because it was a 2 for Tuesday.
2 for Tuesday, baby.
Good one.
Yeah.
But the
my radio background
or the fatality rate for bone marrow transplants is pretty high. That's why more people don't do it.
Well, good point. I mean, transplanting bone marrow, that sounds difficult.
I don't know.
That sounds like you got to get your bones open.
Do that.
Yeah.
For me, if I was told that I was gonna die, I think I would do crazy shit to try and stay alive. If I'm gonna die anyway, why the fuck not? I don't know. But it's easy to say that when you're not under the gun.
Yeah, and it depends like how. What are we talking?
What are you going to suffer?
Yeah, well, I'm just like, is it some kind of basically? So if you have a diagnosis that gives you a time frame,
Right.
near when you're going to die,
Right.
then it's going to be some kind of tumor or cancer, right? There's no other,
Typically.
maybe AIDS, I guess.
There's degenerative like ALS and things.
Yeah.
There's degenerative
okay.
muscle diseases.
Some
Yeah.
neural diseases or some shit like that.
Or maybe you got some kind of liver cancer. I guess.
Yeah.
That's still cancer.
If it's something where no matter what, there's like no kind of treatments or no whatever, it's going to be like, I'm going to die in 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's it. Then I would just be,
You'd be resigned to it, or would you be then super aggressive?
no, I'd be resigned to it. I'd just be like,
see.
well, I'm just going to make this last 6 months as cool as possible.
Well, yeah,
And-
that's true too. I mean, do you fight and suffer and then eventually die, or do you
No.
take the last 6 and enjoy your quality of life?
These are difficult choices that I don't want to have to make, but the older I
Yes,
get, the
thank
more
you.
I think about them. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you're healthy though. You take good care of yourself. I
I'm
don't think you're gonna
robust.
get any-
Robust, hardy. Yeah.
And you got insurance.
That's true.
Well,
Yeah.
You got
you
money
go to
and
the doctor,
insurance. That's
you got-
you're better than a good chunk of the American people.
You got a doctor that you see regularly, right?
no, I don't. I
don't either.
you know what? Now that it's so difficult when you
Go
move.
to the doctor.
Hang on, listen to me. When you move, it is difficult to get a new doctor. Okay, even in the military, it's very difficult to get a new doctor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just a challenge that everybody faces. And it's not that the system is set up to keep you from getting a doctor. It's like, you got to figure out where the clinic is. You got to figure out what the numbers are to make an appointment.
And then you got to figure out if you jive with them.
Yeah, you got to tell him your whole fucking life story so that he knows which aches and pains mean shit.
and so on and so on and so. Sometimes it's just easier. Oh, I'm just going to wait till I get sick. And fortunately, I have not gotten sick. I've been in robust health this year.
Good.
Yeah,
That's good.
super hardy.
I've had like
Murphy's
just a
got some-
tiny little cold for like a month.
Hmm.
Like it's not like
Hey, you know what would help with that?
annoying.
Yeah,
If you quit smoking.
that's a good point right there. Have you
Okay.
switched to the vaping yet? We've talked about
Duly
that a few
noted.
times.
No, I haven't yet.
Yeah.
It's because he keeps breaking them.
Well, you got to. When's the last one you had? Last one I bought you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you might
Well,
want to.
last real one.
Yeah. Why don't you try
What
another
does
one?
that mean? You have
Well,
fake
they got
ones?
they got those little fucking disposable ones,
Oh yeah.
but I don't get them. People at work have them. I like them at work because then I don't smell like cigarettes.
Yeah,
Tables.
why don't you just buy more of them? I mean, that's how I quit smoking. Actually, was through disposable ones, because I wanted to make my disposable ones last, and eventually I just stretched
Stopped
out so
using
much that I stopped using it. But anyway, you'll
There you
figure that out. But you're right, though. The
Excellent.
smell is one big reason why I ended up quitting smoking myself. Somebody
Yeah,
came
there's
up to
nothing
me.
you can do, man.
I
And,
know.
like you can wash your hands and shit, and you can put whatever. Girls
It's
can
pervasive.
put perfume, and guys can put cologne, but it
doesn't
it
matter. No,
Doesn't matter.
One of the nails in the coffin for me, I was working at a place where I was supposed to be like this paragon of virtue. And I walked in, and one of my subordinates, I smoked a cigarette about half hour earlier and washed up, did all the shit I did to not smell like cigarettes. And my a subordinate walked up to me and said, gee, Captain, I didn't know you smoked. I'm like, oh, fuck. Or maybe
You're
it
not
was,
supposed to.
I was like, yeah.
I enjoy the occasional cigarette.
Right. I smoke socially by myself secretly.
Shame smoking behind
Right.
the garage.
So anyway, point is that I did indeed quit with the help of vaping. So, I mean, people who say vaping is bad, I agree. Vaping is bad for teenagers who just take it up because it's so cool, and it is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
But,
just like
but like anything, it can be used as a tool
it
to your
can.
advantage.
Well, not like anything. Like smoking cigarettes generally can't be used as a tool to your advantage. It's basically
Okay,
just going
all
to
right.
make you addicted.
Like I don't know.
Like many
most-
things.
Like many things. There you go.
There we go. Yeah. All right. So anyway, quit smoking. Good health. Everybody, but you're speaking of health. Hey, I ordered the Polar H10 strap. It'll be in Wednesday.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let's get together offline and figure out what the fuck.
Yeah, we're gonna get our competition on. And you better watch out.
I tell you what, though, the frustrating part of this for me is that I'm starting to do this body weight fitness
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah. What's
which
that
is
mean?
great.
Yeah.
Well, it's like using your strength to get more strong and using your body.
It's like the 24-minute workout.
I don't know what that is.
24-minute workout's pretty cool.
I'm gonna email it to you. You've seen me do the 24-minute workout, right, Nick?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like tough, but it's 24 minutes.
Well, okay. So the point of the body weight fitness thing is that it's kind of like yoga, but not really. It's about, getting into difficult positions and then holding them to strengthen your muscles, which doesn't really get my heart rate up. So it's fine. I'll pair it with cardio, but I'm already bitching. I just want to throw that out there.
Okay, that's duly noted. Duly noted.
And
My goal is by the end of 2019, there's 3 things I want to be able to do.
Okay.
I want to be able to achieve crow pose.
Okay.
And do you know what that is?
No.
It's a yoga pose where you are balancing you're kind of folded up and you're balancing your weight just on your hands.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Your knees are up by your elbows.
Yes,
so I want to be able to do that.
Okay.
Incredibly difficult.
Yep. I've seen that done. I'm not sure I could do it, but I'm not sure I couldn't.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I could.
Okay, bitch, let's do it.
Like I could do it, but then as soon as I would try, I would break my nose or something.
Yeah,
Fall forward.
well, you put your entire body weight on your wrists. It's like a handstand, but more compact.
I think I could.
We'll do it offline, and then I'll laugh at your pathetic attempts. Because let me tell you, I thought I could do it because I do yoga on the regular. I'm like, it's a pose. I could just slide right into it. No,
I got strong wrists.
All right. I could make so many jokes. So I want to.
I teed it up for you.
You did. I'm taking the high road. I want to be able to do a crow pose. I would like to be able to do some sort of inversion. It's like a handstand, but I don't know if I can get to that in a year. And I want to be able to do one pull up.
All right. So, those are all achievable goals. No doubt. We can help you get there. But
we'll see.
Let me just double back to the whole strong wrists thing. It's funny because it references masturbation.
For those.
All right. For those at home.
Right. Who didn't get that. Now you've got it. All right.
What's messed up is that didn't even run across my mind when I said that. I was just referencing carrying trays all the time.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's the real reason.
Right. Yeah. That's the real reason. But the funny reason is that you jerk off with both hands.
Yeah. Consecutively, too. First one and then the other. Every time.
It's important to get balance.
First one, take a breather. Get some juice. Go upstairs and drink some orange juice straight out of the carton.
Why
and
don't
then,
you just
boom,
have that
switch to the other
hand?
No. I think, it feels better to walk completely butt-ass naked through my house. With a warm towel draped around my neck.
All right. That was rich. Okay, so so much for current events. I don't know. Where are we? Sports, I guess.
Hey, you know what? When you post a newborn child's weight and length, that's kind of like fishing, isn't it?
Well, in a sense, that's true.
It's a lot like fishing. The stats that you give.
That's true. They are very similar statistics. But the fish is not going to change.
I had a fishing dream last night.
You did. That's odd.
That. Yeah. I can't remember. Like if I was getting pulled in or we were in canoes. Yeah, that's what it was. And I was scared that I was going to get pulled in, but it didn't. That has no relevance. Go ahead. Just continue what you were saying.
It's just your standard anxiety dream, basically.
Yeah.
But he didn't fall in, which means he's managing it.
Yeah. Good job. Good job managing your anxiety. Well done.
Thanks.
Tune in next week for more armchair psychology.
All right. So, so on to sports. And on the subject of the Super Bowl, we kind of opened the discussion earlier, but
Wait, did anybody see any movies?
I guess we didn't talk. Do you want to do pop culture? Because I haven't seen any movies, but I read a couple of excellent books. I've been on a sci-fi kick because I figured out.
When do you find time to read? Just out of curiosity.
On the train, for one thing. I read on the train.
Yeah.
And I typically read a few minutes before I go to bed. So
just on your phone? Do you have a Kindle reader on your phone or whatever?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I had that Kindle app on my phone too. Almost failed high school because of it. Just be reading all the fucking time.
Did you know that you can get a library card from Omaha and then download books to your Kindle?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I use that shit all the time.
That's exactly how. Actually, I'm using Elsie's library card to download books. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get electronic books for free. So that's what I've been doing is and so I'm accessing the Calvert County Library's science fiction downloadable
Section.
books. Yeah, exactly.
So there's almost no reason to go into a library. Really, there's no reason for libraries to exist. It could just be a kiosk where you get the library card.
No. Because ebook licenses are usually more expensive than actually buying the fucking book.
Oh.
And a lot of the books they don't have. So
Plus-
if you want more variety, you still got to go in.
Wow, you
Also,
educated
like
me.
historical books, like there's lots of reasons for libraries to exist. Do not eradicate the library, you fuck.
I'm just saying,
Whoa,
put a little
whoa,
kiosk
whoa.
there. All you need is just somebody like not even a person, really. Just a little kiosk, a little fucking
they have
hutch
those.
with the fucking robot in there that says good evening. And then you buy, it says good evening no matter what time of day it is. And then you buy a library card.
Right.
And then you use that library card to just go online and read the books that are scanned. But as you mentioned, there's ebook licensing shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway.
They also do have kiosks where you can go into a library and never talk to a person. There is that advantage. Or you can use many of the library services if you need to.
Yes.
But you're right. We should keep the libraries around for people who want that rustic, throwback library experience.
Oh my God.
Listen,
Libraries are very important.
They are. They serve as warming shelters for the homeless.
Yeah, I mean that's not what they're supposed to do, but homeless sure use it like that.
No,
I'm
They
sure
also-
the library employees feel a little uncomfortable when they come out of the bathroom after 45 minutes sweating bullets.
listen, you're just
Pentagram drawn on their forehead.
Right,
It
let's-
wasn't there when they went in.
call back to last week's episode. But in any event, no, I mean, libraries serve important purposes in the community as well. I think we can all agree that support your local library by using your
They do have
spouse's
computers there
library
to
card.
play games on.
Hey, in fairness, I would have gotten my own library card the last time I was at the library, but I'd forgotten my wallet. So I'm stuck using my spouse's for the moment. But I am going to get my own library card. Support your local library. Here's the books
Aren't
that
they
I've read.
free?
What's that? Yeah.
Aren't they free?
What do you mean?
Like, what does it matter if you use yours or Elsie's?
It doesn't matter. But nevertheless, it would be...
But support them anyway.
Yeah, it shows greater support if you have your own library card. Then you can use, you have your own privileges. You have more books you can get and so on. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
Hey man, I played the fuck out of some.
that doesn't really matter to me, I guess. But
Hey man, you can't cherry pick what part of libraries you want to support, all right? You support the whole library. You're down with the library or you're not.
I'm with you. So here's what I read. Do you not want to hear these books I've read this week?
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
do.
If you put them on Goodreads, then we wouldn't even have to have this segment. Continue. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Wow. Okay. Well, I read Robopocalypse. Robopocalypse. Hard to say. By Daniel Wilson.
Robocalypse.
Robopocalypse. It's Robopocalypse. It is.
Okay, all right.
Robopocalypse.
All right.
Anyway, it's about, exactly what it sounds like. Yeah, robots.
That guy could use a better editor. All I'm saying.
True
Should have hired me.
True of the book itself, I'd give it a C+.
Yeah.
It was
How long was it?
Not interested.
It was a couple hundred pages. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? It's your standard robot war book. Yeah, so.
Okay. That's just, all right.
It was interesting, It was, the concept was, we created an intelligence that quickly figured out it was smarter than us and decided, rather than to destroy all of us, that it needed some of us around to help make more of itself. And
It wanted to subjugate us.
yeah, so it was not a complete extermination. It was a subjugation and hybridization program as well, which was kind of
so
interesting.
it's like making cyborgs.
Yeah, so
I'd be down with that.
Yeah, so it had some interesting components, and apparently the second book in the series is much better than the first, as is often the case. So I might or might not dive into the second one, but I found the first one to be, very predictable. In part because, and spoiler alert, it begins with the end, hey, we just won the war. So it's more of a history of the war.
Okay.
But did we really win? Because it ended up creating a bunch of cyborgs and a bunch of freeborn robots, Anyway, so that's something to think about. Just consider it. The book that is actually more intellectually challenging and far more interesting and compelling to me is the one I'm reading now. It's called Walk Away by Cory Doctorow, who has published a number of science fiction novels. This one, though, is certainly political in the sense that it posits a near future, let's say 20 to 30 years in the future, in which the current trends towards inequality have only accelerated. The current trends towards rural depopulation have only accelerated. And so you live in a society, one society is called default, which is basically like it is now, except even more so, where you have super rich who are exploiting the masses. The
And
masses.
super poor.
What's that?
Super poor, super rich, super poor.
Super rich, super poor, the super poor toiling at jobs that exist primarily to generate more wealth for the super wealthy. And then you have a whole other society called walkaway. So the way it is now is called default. And this whole other society, counterculture, is called walkaway. People who leave default walk into the urban, or rather the rural countryside that has these decaying facilities. But it's the near future, so they can still use things and make things, and they have 3D printers and all this other stuff that
This is
allows
a
them to
fictional
survive.
book?
Yeah, it's a fictional book.
Okay.
But
What other kind of book would it be set in the future, Nick?
Well, I missed the whole set in the future part. All I heard, the parts I heard was there's this default society like this, and then there's
Okay.
the other society.
All right.
So I thought it might have been some kind of philosophic, overview on how you can or should live your life.
In
But now
in
I
one
realize
sense, it
it's-
is actually. It's yes, of course, it's set in the near future, but it does give you a sense of how you might want to live in a, or theoretically how you might want to live in a society where you have grotesque inequality.
Yeah, sure. If you're on top, the fuck.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, if you're, if but here's the other thing, right? So there's a whole lot of political discussion that could be had about haves and have-nots and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is that even poverty is better than it used to be, in the sense
That's
that,
true.
you can be pretty poor and still afford high-quality entertainment. You can still afford, not perhaps the most healthy foods, but certainly calorically dense foods. There's
You can survive. Well, here,
in this country,
especially in
certainly.
America.
Yeah,
So what was that book called again?
it's called Walk Away by Cory
Okay.
Doctorow.
I enjoy a good politically tense staging for an uprising book.
Dr.
I'm all about that
Giro.
rebellion.
Then you're going to enjoy that. You're going to enjoy Walk Away. All right, so did you guys see any movies? Watch any
I
Netflix?
didn't. But I do have a book recommendation for you since you're on a sci-fi kick.
Yes.
I read this February 15th, 2017. So it's been 2 years, but it's called The Mechanical. It's about, it's kind of, instead of robots, it's clockwork, but it's the same principle. There's these clockwork men that have been integrated into the society, and they are starting to become self-aware. So it was, there was a twist in there that I thought was really good. And you should pick it up. The Mechanical by Ian Tregellis.
The Mechanical by Ian Tregellis. Well, I can look it up. You can Google that stuff.
Yeah.
The Mechanical. All right, very good. So,
I went to see Spider-Man again this week because it's that good.
wow, a film so nice you saw it twice.
Fuck, man, I need to see that movie.
Look, Murphy, she doesn't like animated films.
Yeah.
And she said it was good. So,
Oh,
ringing endorsement.
That is ringing endorsement. If Murph says something is good, that means it's pretty freaking good.
Yeah. So, it was a whole thing. Like, I picked the wrong theater instead of the right one, but then they ended up having the same seats that we were going to buy at the other one, and it was only a couple minutes earlier. So we ended up missing the first 5 minutes of the film. Is a long story short, and I ended up paying twice as much as I was going to pay for it, but it was still $5 Tuesday, so whatever.
And at the end of the day, look,
It was a good movie.
It was a good movie, and you only missed the first 5 minutes of a movie you've already seen once.
Right.
So,
Right.
all good. All
So
right.
that's the only thing I saw.
Terrific.
I have started watching Letterkenny, which is fucking hilarious.
fucking love that show. That show fucking changed my life.
We
can't-
started watching it again because I finished the first season. I mean, there are only 6 episodes or whatever.
Right.
I finished the first season and then I threw it on last night after the fights, and it's even funnier the second time through. So.
Fantastic. Well, that's good. And so, yeah, we've not watched anything except Sopranos. We're now, there's 86 total episodes of The Sopranos, and we're through like about 16. So we're a little less than
I do wanna
20%.
watch that.
Yeah.
Are they hour-long episodes?
They're 50 minutes typily, 52 minutes, something like
Fuck.
that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, each
I
one
can
is
watch
like a
one of
little
those
film.
a day.
I'll tell you what, you'll have your mind. It's great acting, great writing, great cinematography, frankly. Each one is like a small film.
And like Elsie, I love a good mobster film.
Well,
So
then it's all mobster all the time.
have I asked you this before? Have you watched Peaky Blinders?
I haven't, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
After The Sopranos, in 10 years, when you're finished with that, you should pick up Peaky Blinders.
All right, I'll do that. I will.
Hey, you remember that one time when we kind of debated if the opening to Grease was sung by Frankie Valli or not? It is by Frankie Valli.
Well, I thought it was by Frankie Valli?
Yeah, you did. And I was like, I don't know about that. But
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Like 6 episodes later, confirmed.
Yeah. That song just popped into my head. And,
It's entirely possible that you should, trust your father.
yeah. Well,
But
most
then-
of the time.
Yeah, most
Trust, but verify.
Yeah.
Reagan.
The old case of trust but verify.
Yes, another callback to Reagan. I think I mentioned Reagan earlier in this podcast.
Yeah.
In relationship to the intermediate nuclear forces.
Wait, did he coin that phrase?
He did. Yeah, that was a big one from Reagan. Trust but verify. And he was referring to arms treaties. We're going to
Good for him.
Yeah, the Gipper. Well, anyway, so you mentioned the fights. Perhaps we should discuss the fights. First of all, should we make Super Bowl picks right here that we will be held accountable for next week?
I guess go
What does
Rams.
this mean? What picks?
Yeah, picks. You got to pick
Which
a-
team?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Patriots.
Don't the Patriots always slaughter whoever they go up against?
No.
Not always, no.
No.
But they are usually in a Super Bowl game.
Yes. I mean, they've been to this
And
point, they've been to the Super Bowl 7 times. They've won 4 and lost 3.
Oh, so this could be a tie for them.
And I say under
If they
the
win.
Brady Belichick era, they've been to the Super Bowl 7 times and have gone 4 and 3.
Which is
And people hate them
nobody
for this?
else.
People
nobody
hate them
else
for being
has
good?
done
Yes.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
it. Yeah.
All right. Well, go
Well,
Patriots.
and they kind of had like a little like controversy where they were cheating a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh.
They were filming other people's practices so that they could steal their signals. That's one thing. And then there was a whole thing where they had their balls deflated, footballs, that is, and not their actual testicles. Their footballs were deflated during a game against Indianapolis. Although
And
theoretically,
that what makes it easier to catch? Doesn't
Easier
it make
to-
it harder to throw?
easier to throw, better grip on the football, but all the footballs are deflated like that. So presumably, I mean, it would have given the same advantage to Andrew Luck, who was in that game. Anyway, the bottom line is that it's a competitive sport. From my point of view, I have to say that I'm not that worked up about the so-called cheating of the Patriots. But that a lot of people feel like, oh, they're just a bunch of cheaters. But the fact of the matter is that it's undeniable that Bill Belichick is the greatest football coach in history from a sheer success standpoint.
Yeah, from a numbers point of view, a statistical point of view.
And you say, well, Brady has to have some role in that. But think about this. The one year that Brady missed the season due to injury, the Patriots went 11-5. Their quarterback, veteran journeyman Matt Castle, who never did a goddamn thing in his career after he was coached by Bill Belichick to an 11-5 record with the Patriots. He never had a record like that in his career ever again. So, I mean, Belichick is, I think, the greatest coach in history, just from a success standpoint.
Nick said go Rams, so I'm going to say go Patriots. That way one of us wins.
Okay, so you're picking the Pats. You also have to pick a point score. So the Pats are
Are
going to
we
win by
talking
how many
about? Do
points?
I think?
Yeah, who do you think is going to win?
That's actually a good question because I don't know. The Rams are obviously they're really good this year because they're in the Super Bowl.
They're 7 points, right? That's like a thing. So let's do.
Well,
let's
if you
do
get
20
that's if you
let's do
get a touchdown.
5 Pats. That's what I'm going with.
28-25 Pats?
Yep.
Okay. That's very good.
I'm putting that down with no knowledge.
I'm going to say 52-45 Patriots. Actually, I want the Rams to win.
You think the Patriots are going to score 52 points?
No, I'm just making a joke about how much the defensive game has changed. But
yeah.
I don't know, man. Yeah, let's say Sarah's point spread's a pretty good one. I'd say
Nice.
maybe 28-14.
28-14 Rams or Pats?
I think I don't want the Pats to win, but I think that is what's going to happen.
Okay, I have a little more confidence in the Rams offense. I really do.
Yeah?
I think that I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think it's going to be, I'm going to go 38-35 Patriots. I think they're
All
going to. I think they're going to do to the Rams just what they did to the Chiefs.
Yeah, that sounds right. Sounds about right.
Jot it down. Tune in next week.
We've all picked the Patriots. Every last one of us.
Well,
when's the last time the Rams won a Super Bowl?
It was under Kurt Warner.
And when's the
does
last
that
time
matter
they've
though?
been?
Like ultimately, does that matter? It's a different team. Usually, it's a different coach. What the fuck does it matter the last time they did something?
It matters because
Why?
if it's not always a different team, sometimes it's the same team.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the last
Well, you
one
just
they
said when is the last time, which implies a while ago, which implies a new team. Who cares?
Yeah, it was.
Well, look, what do you mean? If it's been a long time, then that means no matter what team they have now or have had then, no team has been sufficient for them to be in the Super Bowl up until this point, including the one now.
Would you like to know the answer?
Right.
By the way,
Sure.
The last time the Rams won the Super Bowl, they were the St. Louis Rams, and it was after the 1999 season. In the
What are they now?
In the
Where
2000s,
are they based out of?
Los Angeles. They're the Los Angeles Rams. I always say Los Angeles versus Los Angeles. I don't know why.
Whatever. You
Yeah.
have many quirks that I don't question.
Name one more. Name one more quirk.
I don't want to. We're in polite company.
Wow, that makes it seem really sexual, and I don't think that's fair.
It could also just be gross. Like, why did you have to take it back again?
I can name one that's gross,
Okay, just one.
which I also do myself, eating Spam right out of the can.
Yeah, that's what's
Uncooked. Dude, every time I've ever
Yeah.
done that around
You
anyone.
still
but
do
you-
that?
Yeah.
what's
Fuck,
quirky
gross.
about that? It's delicious.
It is delicious, but I get looked at like I'm a fucking mutant. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's pre-cooked.
They're waiting for you to turn into one.
It's
Yeah.
pre-cooked for a reason. You can
That's what
eat it.
I say, dude. And they're like, oh, bro, you got to cook it. But I do anything that comes in a can, I'll just eat it right out
I
of the
do
can.
like eating SpaghettiOs straight out the can.
I eat
so
SpaghettiOs
delicious.
straight out of the can. I eat
Mm.
ravioli straight out of the fucking can. I don't care if it came in a can. I'm just going to open that can and eat it. I'm not going to heat it up.
That-
Well, it's canned.
Yeah.
Typically, that means it's safe to eat. That's the whole point
Bro,
of canned.
that is what I keep telling my fucking roommate, and he doesn't.
He doesn't get it.
It doesn't compute with him.
Well,
it does
It's
not.
not raw.
It's
I
not
know.
raw.
He's like, bro,
Take
you
him on a
gotta heat
history
it up.
lesson.
I'm like, I
Take
am
him back
not
to
heating
Bonaparte.
it up. It tastes the exact same way, whether you heat it up or you eat it out of the can, because it's still like you're not cooking it.
It's
like,
a different mouthfeel. Okay.
yes, but it tastes the same. Actually, you know what? I prefer it cold. Fuck it.
I said it. I'm not going to unsay it.
Right. Well, this is one of the ways I know you truly are my son. All right. So yeah, that's not a quirk. That's not a bug. It's a feature. That's what I
Right,
would say
okay.
about that.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So you watched the fights last night. How did they go?
They were okay. They all went pretty quick, which I enjoyed. They started early. They started at 7, and we were done before Nick came over.
What was this? Was
They
it
got off at work.
UFC 225 or what were the
No,
fights?
this is
Bellator,
fight night
right?
144.
Got
It wasn't Bellator. It was fight night. UFC fight night.
Who's the main? Who's
The main was Rafael Asuncao,
Asuncao?
and Marlon Moraes.
Murray? Yeah.
And then the co-main was Jose Aldo and
Oh.
Renato Moicano.
Did Anderson Silva already fight? And Robert Whitaker? And,
That's next week.
Okay.
That's this upcoming week, which I
Just
gotta go
Anderson
with
Silva and Robert Whitaker are not fighting. Robert Whitaker is fighting.
Law is
Lawler.
Lawler. Yeah.
No, god damn it, that ain't right either.
All right, hold on. I got it right here.
I'm
Well,
just
hang on.
fucking-
That's
fucking
next
fucking
week.
up.
Before we get to
Whitaker-
next week, let's get through last
All
night.
right. So last week, yeah. So it started with women's strawweight Souza versus Froda, which was they were hitting pretty hard.
Souza?
This is women's
Souza,
strawweight.
Yeah, Souza.
I think I think it's Souza if you pronounce it correctly.
Okay, so it's Souza versus who?
Sarah Froda.
Okay, Sarah Froda. And who won?
Souza did by decision.
Okay, so it's a 3-rounder.
Yeah, it was 3-rounder. They was it this person? There was the only women, so it must have been them. Souza had Froda in a pretty intense looking armbar, but I think the round ended before she tapped.
Saved by the bell.
Yeah, but they that was a good fight. If you want to look up anything from this card, that's a good one to look up.
Okay.
And then this was a good one. The next match was Johnny Walker versus Justin Leday. and
Waka.
he won round 1 15 seconds in.
Wow.
Light heavyweight. So he came in, and let me think about this. He punched him on the temple and then got him on the backswing, like did a spin and got him with the back of his arm on a backswing, and he went down hard. And then while he was down, Walker started to kick him, and was very lucky, very, very lucky that Lede turned out of it, because he
would have been DQ'd, right? You can't kick a man when
he would
he's
have kicked him in the head.
Yeah.
You can kick a guy when he's down. You just can't do it in the head, and he would have hit him in the head, which would have DQ'd him and probably
it's, 3 points of contact, right?
Yeah, 3 points of contact. That's correct.
Yeah.
No, I looked it up. You can kick a downed opponent. If they're grounded, you can still kick them. It just can't be in the head.
Oh,
because
okay.
we were talking about it.
Oh, I thought 3 points of contact for the victim. That's what I thought. Anyway,
yeah. Like if the person has 3 points of contact on the ground, you can't kick them in the head. But if they don't have 3 points of contact on the ground, just 2 points, then you can kick them in the head.
Yeah, my point here is focusing on the head. I wasn't sure if you could kick them in the body, regardless.
But you can.
You can.
Oh, sure you can.
Oh, yeah.
So then he, came down with the hammer fist, and it was over.
That's just because if you couldn't kick them when they're on the ground, which you used to be able to, like way back in the day, like Pride days, and they had no fucking rules. Like you just hit them right in the dick if you wanted to, which somebody did, and it was horrifying. Like he was just pounding this dude.
Oh Jesus!
Right in the crotch. But you could just soccer kick someone right in the head, right as they're getting up or something. It's real easy to injure someone like that, which is why they don't do that, which kind of goes without saying. But
so Walker won.
Walker won really quickly.
Okay.
And he was a big guy. He was standing with his arms outstretched, and I was like, how big is his fucking wingspan? Like, and that's not the point. The point is just I just remember thinking how big he was.
Yeah.
The next two, I don't remember which one. They both won by submission, but I don't remember which one was good and which one I didn't care about.
Got it.
But one of them had like, I apologize because I don't really know the moves as well, but I think it was a guillotine.
Mm-hmm.
That he had him in a standing guillotine.
Okay.
And they stood there for a while, and he kept trying to. It must have been this guy.
Who's he? What's with the pronouns?
Huh?
Who are we talking about?
It's either Maya versus Good, or it was Olivier versus Teamer.
You can't remember.
And I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Maya versus Good. I'm pretty sure that this happened to. But anyway, he had good defense in the fact that he kept his chin tucked, and Maya couldn't quite get it under until he did. But he was Damian Maya did a textbook, like he had it locked in really well.
Yeah.
He was an expert wrestler, and they never even went to the ground. So that was a good fight.
Okay, good. And so Damian Maya won.
Yes, by submission. I think some sort of guillotine. I'm not.
Maybe a rear naked choke.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm sure they said, but I wasn't listening.
I understand.
And then the co-main and the main event was fine. I don't really remember it.
The main event, Jose Aldo, right?
Nope, he was the co-main.
Okay.
And it's Jose. He's Brazilian.
How did he do?
He won. He won by knockout 44 seconds into the second round.
No kidding.
Jose Aldo did?
Yep. Jose, again, you pronounce the J because he's Brazilian.
Okay, Jose Aldo beat whoever his opponent was.
Renato Moicano.
Didn't he get knocked out by
McGregor? Yeah, twice.
Yeah, and he's one of those fighters who's kind of been fighting for a long time and has accumulated a number of knockouts. Jose is. And the more knockouts you get, you start to not be the same anymore.
I see. So he's been knocked out a few times.
Yeah, so he was losing a couple, like his...
but he was still number 2. He's still number 2 in the featherweight.
But didn't he lose his fight before this one?
I don't think so, Doug.
Yes.
Oh, he did.
I think so.
And
he's only lost his record. Well, his record is 28-4.
That's a pretty good record.
McGregor, and then I think he lost his last one. But
I guess what it was is, and so that I don't know if that was 3 in a row. I don't know. But, you see someone who looks kind of like they're unbeatable, Jose Aldo, and then he gets knocked out in 13 seconds by Conor McGregor, and then he loses to him again, and he starts to lose his other fight. And then you start to think, okay, now he's caught some knockouts, starting to get a little bit of that CTE or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Or he's, and now he's not the same fighter that he was. But clearly that's not the case. Glad to hear that he won last night.
Yeah, back to his winning ways. Congratulations, Jose Aldo.
Yep.
Good deal. All right. And so next week, we've got, what, UFC 225?
Yes.
I'm interested. Yeah, I'm going to look up who the fuck Robert Whittaker is fighting because I just spouted off a bunch of bullshit.
Well, he says he's
fighting Kelvin Gastelum.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I like them both, but I like Robert Whittaker the most.
And then the co-main is Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva. They're calling this Israel Adesanya guy the next Anderson Silva.
Right.
Is he from? Yeah, here's my 6 degrees of separation from this guy. Is that my friend, the one who likes Maroon 5, has a friend in Australia, not Australia, I apologize, in New Zealand,
yes,
who also enjoys Maroon 5. That's how they met. And she's friends with this guy's mom.
Fantastic. So we're all rooting for Israel, obviously.
Right, clearly.
Yeah,
You know
like
why else
Israel.
we're rooting for him? Because he's from the same place as our sponsor,
Ziff's. That's right, Ziff's. Fine dining in Invercargill, New Zealand, co-located with The Throne Room. Heavy tattoos to go with your heavy meal at Ziff's.
Yeah, and he's a good fighter, man. He's like a young Anderson Silva.
15-0.
Yeah.
Well, Anderson the Spider Silva is what, 42, 46? How old is that dude?
He's 42, I think.
43.
Oh
43.
my gosh.
And Israel is 29.
Yeah.
I mean, age does start to matter at a certain point.
Yeah.
So
And injuries, man, they add up. I mean, these UFC fighters, they take insanely good care of their body. Like they have teams of doctors telling them what to do and when to do it and what to eat and shit. Like, I know, but
Your job.
yeah, but you can only just get your parts of your body destroyed. Although the thing about Anderson Silva is he's really good at not getting hit. He was very good at dodging people's strikes and knocking people out.
Yeah, but
very good at not getting hit.
Didn't he shatter his leg? Didn't he shatter his leg? Yeah.
He shattered his leg like a dinner plate, and it was fucking horrible. But that wasn't like that. He would just threw a kick, and the guy fucking, blocked it, and bone hit bone in the perfect spot. That's the only injury.
That was Anderson Silva?
Yeah.
Where his shin like liquefied?
Yes.
Yeah, that was
That's him.
I can't believe he's fine. Never thought he was going to fight again after I saw that.
Agreed.
When was that?
Like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was a while ago.
Let's look that up.
Looking at the stats of these guys, Adesanya has advantage on reach and on height and age. So I'll be interested to see if the up and comer can come up.
Well, we'll see how that goes next week. And it is UFC 225. Yes, it
is.
Okay.
Damn, that was against Nick Diaz. Yeah, that was in 2013.
Yep. So 6 years ago.
Wow. Well, his leg is, of course, fully healed at this point, but you got to admit, he's old and he's taken some injuries. So,
yeah, he has. But I will say that out of all the other, there's not really many other fighters his age, but most fighters who would make it to his age, Anderson, they would have accumulated far more injuries than Anderson Silva. He really was masterful at not getting hit. Same thing with Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. He's just really good at not getting hit.
Well, and of course, that's also, Money Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is absolutely a master of defensive fighting, which doesn't make for great fights sometimes to watch. But
I don't know, man. The more I get into watching fights, I enjoy watching a guy dodge punches, man.
Well, you know what? A defensive master is something to behold, for sure. But you have to have an appreciation for the sport to really enjoy that. Most people just enjoy watching a guy get his ass kicked. Or somebody else kicking the ass, as it were. So, UFC 225 next weekend, and on the card, Israel and Anderson Silva. And
they're the only interesting ones.
Yeah, it sounds like that to me.
Whitaker's a fucking phenomenal fighter.
You're right.
And I like
misspoke.
Kelvin Gastelum too. I like Kelvin Gastelum because his name sounds like a sci-fi villain.
I was going to ask why you were saying Kelvin instead of Kevin, but you're right. It is Kelvin. My bad.
It's Kelvin Gastelum.
Like
that's right.
The temperature. That's kind of cool.
Like a fucking Star Wars admiral.
Right. Admiral Gastelum. The Death Star approaches. Okay. Whatever, man. All right. So good. Very good. So what else? Anything else? Are we missing anything? Would either of you care to clarify or extend your remarks?
I think I pretty much banged that into the ground, As
it were. Yeah, you submitted it.
I did.
You used a rear naked choke to submit that shit. Good job.
Thanks.
Good job, you.
Been working on my strength.
Well, let's all give a shout out to Uncle Guy, who's having neck surgery next week.
I was going to say, I thought that was either this week or next week. So hopefully he's doing well, being mentally prepared for that.
Yeah, it's not just mentally, too. He's got to, prepare meals and all that stuff. So he's got a lot going on. And let's all make sure that he gets back to his usual sarcastic self because, neck surgery is no joke.
Yeah.
Especially when you're getting a disc removed from your neck. Yikes. Seems like major surgery.
Yeah. I was telling Murphy, I was like, that's a good way to get paralyzed. and then she berated me soundly because our surgeons here in America are better than that, and it's not the 1800s anymore. So
I'm kind of with you.
Yeah, I fucking hope so, dude.
I thought she was berating you for using the expression, that's a good way to get paralyzed. Like,
why? I thought that was a great expression.
It's a great way to get paralyzed. I mean, if you're going to, it's so much better than a traumatic injury, right? Actually,
exactly.
If you're going to get paralyzed, go ahead and do it professionally.
Right, professional paralysis. Maybe that could be I don't know, and it's kind of, you could have a specialty.
And no one's done it yet.
Tired of walking around? Come see us.
Tired of using those damn legs? Don't you want to be one of those people who rides around in a scooter at Walmart? Come see us. Professional paralysis.
We'll paralyze anyone for $99.95.
All we do is give you a little laugh gas, you go under, and when you wake up, you can't do shit no more.
All we do is paralyze folks.
Yeah. We don't do anything else. We don't unparalyze you. You come over, you pay us $100, and next thing you know, we're rolling you out into the street in your brand new wheelchair that you have to operate with your mouth.
I don't know why that's funny. That's grotesque. It's morbid.
Yeah, it's fucked up. That's fucked up.
Speaking of, have you seen that movie yet with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston?
No, of course not. The Upshot.
Yeah, you should see it. It's pretty good.
See the Upshot. Okay. All right. Well, kids, good to talk to you. And, go Pats. A Shinn Show is a production of Shinfluence and features the voices and opinions of the Shinn family, which are their own. It's brought to you by Ziff's, a fine dining establishment in Invercargill, New Zealand, and the Throne Room Tattoo Shop, also in Invercargill. You can get I'm fine. You can get a Shinn...
You're a paragon of health.
Yeah, I'm very healthy. Super healthy. You can get a Shinn Show on... Where can you get it, Sarah?
Oh, you can get it on Google Play Music. You can get it on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you get podcasts.
Thanks. And we'll see you next week. All right, good job, kids.
There's this thing I'm looking at right now. It's called Stay Fresh Cheese Bags.
Yeah.
I don't understand the need to market specifically for cheese.
Yeah.
Stay Fresh cheese bags? Why cheese bags?
But the caption's actually pretty funny. It says, I found something new to say when I leave a room. Stay fresh cheese bags.
That's where we're going to end it.